So I would like to welcome everybody to the Carter Johnson Library and Collection presents The Librarian Speaks with Mama Vi. I am your host, the designated extrovert of the Carter Johnson Library and Collection, Matthew Cary. And I just love watching Mama giggle every time I say that. Mama is joined by some special guests this evening. We have Master Cecil and the awesome and immutably perfect in every way Darcy.
Darcy, wave.
Oh.
No, that's what I wanted you to do. Wait, Mama.
We'll give everybody a few minutes to make it in. Everybody wants to unmute and say hello. Let us know where you're from if this is your first time. Mom, I'm not sure if you heard Intellectual Daddy say that this meeting is the highlight of every month for him.
Thank you, sir.
There's Peg. Welcome.
I'd like to say
Walking around.
Hi, how's everyone doing?
That's
We're
okay.
doing great, Peg. Thank you. Jared, you were saying something?
yeah, this is our first time, my slave and I, to do the Zoom call, and we're definitely been looking forward to it. Just haven't had that time to do it.
Oh, I'm glad. Are you both there?
Yeah, we're both here.
Well, hi. I haven't seen either one of you in forever.
Well, yeah, it's definitely been quite some time, man.
Master Brett and Abby say hi from Columbia, South Carolina. Leather Girls of Color in the house. Welcome. Sheena Rogers, welcome. Wayward Soul says hi from Greenville. I'm going to go with South Carolina, I believe. Nixa says hi from Michigan. Everybody feel free to unmute and say hello. We got 10 minutes here or so of welcome and waiting for everybody to get in. Tom is in the red light district this evening.
That was a pink light, and my camera needed to warm up or whatever.
Something. That was fun though. You should do that every time. That was a good look. It got our attention.
Yeah, fun. Yay.
Budley, come on in.
Still cocktail hour here on the East Coast or West Coast, by the way.
Oh, enjoy. I've got a little fiddler lined up for here in a little bit.
Just plain water.
Ready Assassin says good evening, everyone.
Come on, say hi.
Hey, everybody.
This is my
Hey.
So we have a pretty
house, actually.
I know you are.
Yes, actually. Welcome to Family and
Cecil, what are you doing off camera? Are you behaving? Hey, I've got some of those. I've got 69 of those to be exact.
pervert.
That's just how they came.
So in other words,
Cecil and Darcy are loose in the magazine room.
That sounds incredibly dangerous.
Just keep them out of the leather journey box or sleeve or.
They're over here.
Yeah, don't let them near that one.
Wait, I have a dupe.
You do have a dupe.
I have a duplicate.
I'll share my reading material too.
Bulls and debauchery. Nice.
Debauchery is fabulous stuff.
That explains the red light earlier. That's
Listen,
it.
you.
That'll be the last one.
Oh, I doubt that.
Although there is the rule of 3, I may have to do it one more time. What is that, Tom? From sequel to 2 bulls and a male harem. Cool.
Which I also have. Hang on.
Get the whole collection. You have Mama's attention. This is what the face Mama makes when she sees a magazine she doesn't possess.
Yes.
Yeah, sorry, Mama. You will get it. Promise.
Teacup loves
Nice.
cool.
Illustration looks pretty nice too.
And I think this is like the sequel or a third part. I don't know. Yeah,
Rubber Master.
Sean, SEAN, did a good job on the illustration part.
All right, Mama. Let's go ahead and get started. I think you've got a full slate tonight.
First things first, I thought I would change the background. I also changed the room, the town, the building, etc. You're sitting in or joining me in the magazine room of the library. There's going to be a lot more discussion about the magazine room later because part of showing one of my favorite rooms and different rooms in the library is talking about them and telling the history of them. But before I go on at all, by way of explaining why we didn't meet last week, about an hour and a half before we were to televise, I was notified that one of my favorite cousins died of COVID. So that one definitely put a serious crimp in the style, mostly because I just couldn't stop crying. At 48 with a brand new grandchild, she shouldn't have been passing on through this plague that we have going on. And it took me a couple of days to get my act together. And then fate, as fate would have it, had a reschedule for 2 people that I adore who were coming up from the Florida Annex. Instead of landing tomorrow and staying until Tuesday, Master Cecil and Darcy had to back up 4 days and come in early. So aside from discovering the mothership and all of the things that are here and looking for anything that might be a duplicate that could conceivably be crammed in their suitcases, they didn't realize that they were also coming here to cheer me up. That was the part that they didn't know was in the contract, because there is a tremendous amount of joy in showing people the library and the insane amount of treasures that are here, and the different rooms, and going through them and just playing Discovery. Now they've been playing Discovery for 2.5 days, looking at all of the treasures, but also going, can we take it to Florida? Because Master Cecil and Darcy, aside from being the owners of the woodshed, and I will let them tell you about that a little later, are also the senior griots for the Carter Johnson Annex in Florida. So they're coming up to do what all of their annex siblings do at some point, which is land at the mothership and go, can I have that? And this, and let's talk about those over there. And it's also the delight for me of watching them actually go through it for the first time and having conversations about the many things that are here and doing unboxing videos with me and discovering with me all of the things that are now being sent to the library. And since we're talking about things that are being sent to the library, There are a number of wonderful things that have landed, but there are two that I want to talk about in particular because they're going to go into other conversations. The first is a book by a man named Jack Fritzer. Now, many people have heard of Jack, many people have read Jack's work, and many have talked to him either in person or on Facebook. He is a prolific writer, an amazing historian, a bit of a curmudgeon, and a walking, talking, living leather. His latest tome is on the life of an old friend, probably partner, or at least good buddy at one point, which is Larry Townsend. Now, Townsend was an amazing man with a history all his own, and a history that was part of, or I should say, one of the cornerstones of gay Los Angeles in the 60s and 70s, and forming all kinds of leagues that would assist gay men, some lesbians, and leather women who were running around the Los Angeles area. The history of Los Angeles is something I think a lot of people find interesting. Some of it Jack lays out in other books. He has done work on the history of San Francisco. He has written about the history of Drummer, both the magazine and the newspaper. Few people remember that Drummer was a newspaper before it was a magazine and before it was taken over by Tony DeBlas and his partner, and then turned into Desmodus Press. But not only do I want to talk about the writer, but the writer was also a journalist for the real world. Jack was one of the people who was fortunate enough to interview Anton LaVey, if that name rings a bell with you. He has been allowed access to a number of people to interview them that most would never get the chance to interview. So the Leatherman and the historian was an incredible journalist and has sent a number of his publications to the library for other people to discover in terms of history. Now, many of you know that I am a woman of drummer, as part of the Woman of Drummer movement, but I am also a woman of drummer in the sense that I'm one of the few women who has ever been interviewed by the old Drummer magazine. Part of the reason for that is because I love drummer men. Drummers are bad boys, or were. They were not the standing model. They were not the poser. They were active players who enjoyed what they did. Drummer, unfortunately, is now only in the memories of those of us who were there. However, one of the old drummers has decided he's going to revive it and has started holding drummer parties again and has decided to republish the magazine. But it's not the magazine I want to talk about today. It is the people of drummer and how a lot of those people are remembered. Now, quick aside, all of this will hopefully make sense to them. Remember I had said before that the bits and pieces of what we collect during our leather path all become a part of our history. The programs we pick up, the pins that become part of our vest, the memorabilia in the bags, all put each of us at a place and time. But we look at it, we either file it away, we toss it into a box, we add it to a stack of things that we don't think about until times like this, when we began to walk down memory lane. But there is a lot more to something like this than just the collection of programs. Now, this amazing volume of programs, which detailed drummer contests going all the way back to the late 80s, was a gift to us from Tom Butts. And as I looked through this, not only was I walking down memory lane in terms of remembering the contests, I was also walking down memory lane, remembering the drummers and the men who ran for the drummer contest. This is an amazing piece. But I also knew a lot of the contestants that are talked about in these programs. And as I looked at it originally, and I remembered Mr. Rocky Mountain and the contest won. Oh my. And I remembered John and what an amazing man he was. But part of what comes out for me was not just these men as Leathermen, but these men as men. John was an amazing mechanic and could take an engine apart and put it back together before most people had any idea it's a gearhead. Chuck Higgins was also an incredible candy maker, and even to this day runs a candy company. One of the Mr. Oregon this on this call, Tom is a realtor. As a matter of fact, his sign is over my head because we're sitting in the Anthony DeBlas room, and we'll get into that a little bit later in terms of who the rooms are dedicated to, and the fact that even though I know Tom as a Leatherman, I also know him as a realtor, and as a realtor who has done a lot for this tribe. But now, let's come back to all of us and the people that we talk about only in terms of their leather life. We are more than the sum total of how we play. We are far more than the total of the community that we play in. We all have other things that we do, other hobbies, other things that are important to us, that far too often we just don't share within this lifestyle. I know that Tom is a master chef. I knew that his partner was an incredible chef, as well as a member of the medical field. Far too often, we don't share a lot of the pieces of what makes us whole people because we just don't think about it. But because of that, I believe, a woman's humble opinion only, that we are doing a disservice to our tribe by not bringing more of us to the tribal table. Now, I say that to say we are an amazing community. We are doctors, lawyers, physicists, patent holders, as well as mechanics, plumbers, inventors. All of those pieces are part of what goes into making a community, of making a tribe. I am a leather woman, yes, but I own a piece of real estate. I went looking for a realtor who is gay and lesbian friendly. I am a leather woman, but I also love the opera. My partner doesn't. Wouldn't it be a joy to know that I could call another leather woman and go, they're playing Aida, want to see it? Aida happens to be my favorite opera. Or to give my money to a leather-friendly mechanic, because ultimately my Jeep is going to break down. We do not think about the totality of who we are. And in looking back through programs like this and reminiscing, I was thinking about the fact that perhaps it's a generational difference, leather generation, let me put it that way. That back in the day, I knew more about my siblings. We shared more. Was it part of our leather life? Yes. We didn't think about that maybe the fact that I'm an incredible tailor might be something to be kept away from the tribe, because for heaven's sakes, my vest is going to get ripped at some point, or I'm going to need a piece of leather hemmed. And I knew that I could take that too. Or if I needed a photo of one of my young nieces for a Christmas present for her parents, I could have her photographed by a leather photographer. After all, she didn't have to be in full leather. The camera didn't care. And the skill of the photographer was the skill of the photographer, whether she was taking a baby picture or whether she was taking a picture of a leather jacket. We don't bring as much of ourselves to our community. And I am HO, in my humble opinion only. I think it's important that we as a community know each other more than just with our vests and our leathers on. I want to give my money to a leather wielder. I want to give my money to a leather mechanic or a leather plumber. Or if I need a graphic artist, I'm going to keep it within the tribe. I want to build up my siblings. Not only does it enrich me, because what I need, I can now have met, but it enriches the person that I speak to. And I also believe that it tightens a community. If I need an interview done, assuming he's willing to do it, I'm going to Jack Fritz. He's one of the best in the business. Why shouldn't I ask Jack? Because I know his skills. If he would do this favor for me. More years ago than I can remember, when the dinosaurs roamed the earth and the Leather Journal was just starting. The Leather Journal by Dave Rhodes. And most don't realize that Dave was a announcer, a sports announcer, and was actually very, very good at it. As he was starting the magazine, one of the things that he was hoping to start was the equivalent of the leather yellow pages. Unfortunately, it never happened. And yet, to some extent, as I look at the advertisements that are in the back of this magazine, it tells us who supported us. It tells me where I can get my leathers. It tells me where I can get something repaired. What I was hoping back in the day it would also show was what Leatherman owned a coffee shop in the town that I was going into, so that I could give my money to a leather person. I found, I think it was called Beyond the Edge Cafe by Elena and Steve Gabosh when they were still married. That was geared mostly to us. It was for us and by us. I knew Elaine, but I found one of her advertisements in the back of a piece of leather memorabilia. One of the reasons, coming back to away from this long protracted tale and to where we started, about saving the bits and pieces of our own leather journey, is because as you look through it, no longer in the moment of, say, the event, the conference, the munch, or whatever, you can actually glean more information from that program, from that class list with a little advertisement on the back of it. You can see the number for the National Coalition for Sexual Freedom and maybe make a mental note to yourself, let me put a card in my wallet so that I always know what my rights are when I get stopped because I clipped it out of the program. Or go back and look and go, wait a minute, when I was looking through this, didn't I see a leather plumber? Didn't I see an advertisement for someone? All of those pieces of information are actually part of the journey we are on because there are bits and pieces that are in programs like this. There's a lot more here than just the picture of the contestant or the words from the program producer. There are all of the people who have supported us. There are also all the people who want to contribute to say, right on, keep going, or do that thing, or bring us honor, or bring it home. All of that information is in that program. And that program is now a part of you because you were there. And when you look back on that leather history, your own leather history, your own leather story, you will see all of that information, or maybe you even contributed to it because you put an ad in the program. And now it's time to stop and breathe and go, I wonder who else did this too. Because you're also linked there. So when you trip down memory lane, there's a lot more to it than just the I was there. There was the I was there with, or I learned about, or I got to discover, or I got to meet someone. And oh my, wasn't all of that amazing? The program or whatever will remind you of it, but the experience that is wrapped up in it is so intensely and delightfully personal. You will remember those things when you are farther down your leather journey. So I guess all of that comes back to, don't be afraid to share pieces of yourself with your tribe. You'd be amazed at what comes up in a conversation. Or what is a wonderful lead-in to a conversation. Do we always have to talk about the contest? Or can't we discuss the fact that we just saw Hamilton? And who has seen it? Or it's here. Does anyone want to go and see it with me? Those are the personal pieces of our lives that while it touches on leather, and it is a part of leather, is something that we shouldn't be afraid to share. So, how am I doing on time, Matt? Did I hit that one?
You're doing perfect. So we have questions. We
Shoot.
usually feature a room in the library. And tonight you are coming to us live from a room in the library. So do you want to share with everyone where you are and what all is in there?
I figured you guys would kind of get tired of the white background that was in my workroom. And I wanted to spend some extra time with Master Cecil and Darcy and kind of to share a little bit of what is in the library that they could explore while I was talking to you, and then being able to abuse them by putting them both up here with me and talking more. So you've heard us talk in different times about the rooms in the library, the art room, and so on. Every room in this building is dedicated to someone who is very special in my life. The magazine room, which is where we are and where we do a lot of our catalog, is dedicated to one of the few men in my life I ever called Daddy. It is dedicated to Dr. Anthony Frank DeBlas. You all probably remember him most as Tony DeBlas. And aside from, God, I wish you guys could see what I'm staring at, but I'd probably make you dizzy if I turn this camera around. As I stare at the wall behind me, I'm looking at his awards, pictures, certificates from different groups, that Desmodus and he helped. Now, so much of this has been a blessing from one of the men who's on this conference by the name of Tom Butts, who swears that I'm doing him a favor by helping him clean out the garage, his garage. And I believe that he has done me a tremendous service by allowing me insights to a man that I adore that I wouldn't normally have had. Now, I am going to try, and maybe not. I don't know if you can, don't touch the camera, I know.
No. I shared the link to the YouTube channel of the tour of the magazine room. So when this is over, they can go watch the video and then see more videos.
The bit of blue satin that you can see over my shoulder is Tony's jacket from IML and the many times he judged. One of the things that you can't see is the Chicago Hellfire Club overlay that belonged to Tony's partner, Andrew Charles. His covers are here. Full runs of Drummer magazine are here. As a matter of fact, one entire shelf is just dedicated to Tony's publications. When I think about the man and some of the gifts that have allowed me to remember again, here are also some of Tony's cookbooks. Yes, he was a master chef and a member of the International Culinary Institute with friends who were chefs who were all over the world. But he also had a pretty wicked cookbook collection. And of course, an incredibly demented sense of humor. One of the cookbooks that is now here in the library is called To Serve Man. For those of you who are old enough to remember the Twilight Zone episode that was done in the 60s about the cookbook To Serve Man, and the heroine discovering in the last second it was actually a book to cook humans. One of the cookbooks in Tony's collection was about, cooking man. It was a cookbook on cannibalism. Another one in his collection was How to Cook with Semen. And I do not mean anchors away. Evidently, the cream of the male gender can also be used in a lot of other recipes that would call for milk whipping cream. I'm going to leave that joke alone. Or heavy cream and be quite flavorful. Now, I didn't say I had tried it. I'm simply telling you what the cookbook said. And the cookbook belonged to Tony. Again, thinking back to what I had said previously, these are images, bits and pieces and fleeting images of memory that give a different view of the whole man. Dr. Anthony F. DeBlas is a PhD in mammalogy. The reason his publishing company is called Desmodus is because the Desmodus was his favorite bat. And his bat dagger sits on my desk. Other bits and pieces of, let me see what you can actually see behind me, include magazines on bondage and full runs of bondage life. Graphic novels. We have an awful lot of them, although the Portland Seattle Annex specializes in graphic novels and walks off with our comic books 2 boxes at a time. This is what happens when the siblings come back to the mothership. We have specialty magazines here, a full run of Equus Eroticus, Piercing Fans International Quarterly, magazines from London on body art, Fakir's magazine on the modified body, not his book on flesh, and I can't even remember the name of it now. But few people remember Fakir put out a magazine on body play that included piercing, including an incredible photograph of him dancing Kavanti. And I'm going to leave that here. So if any of you want to research it and go, ow, you can go and look at those. We have runs of lesbian magazines, runs of dominant magazines, some incredible. I can see what's coming up in the back here. Beefcake. Remember, just because I'm a dyke doesn't mean I don't like looking.
Everyone back there, please remember this is going on YouTube eventually.
It was only shown from the waist up.
Just making sure.
He's wearing pants. Now, the way the magazine is shown, you wouldn't exactly know that, but you can see enough of the belt. He's wearing pants. Magazines on lesbian SM. A whole lot of magazines for my brothers. Magazines on uniforms. Magazines going back to the 20s, 30s, and 40s. They are all here in the Tony DeBlas magazine room. But because of one of my favorite realtors, I can add the person, which makes this room human, as well as coming in just to look at the room. You can learn an awful lot about the man who inspired us by looking at the walls. So, until I can get you here, welcome to the Tony DeBlas magazine.
Fantastic. You're ahead of schedule, I think.
Oh, good. So now I can abuse Cecil and Darcy.
Uh-oh.
Well, coming up next, we have the Annex update portion of our show. And I believe that was your intentions, was to flog Cecil and Darcy for the spotlight on an Annex.
Now, many of you know, Darcy, where are you? Come on.
Well, hold on, if you're flogging me, I gotta come in this way, right? I'm gonna have to back in,
First.
you know.
Sir, yes, sir.
That's not flogging.
It wasn't? Wait a minute, let me do that again. Hold on, let me do that again. Okay.
Oh, favorite.
That's snogging.
Flogging, it all sounds the same to me. Most of you know that the library has annexes. There are, assuming I can remember all of my children in order, there are 7 of them, plus 2 out of the country. Every one of the annexes has a different personality, which doth tickle me. But the purpose of a Carter Johnson Annex is not just to expand the ability to see, touch, and feel leather history, which makes it real, but also to keep history in the communities that the Annex serves. Most of the country has an amazing bit of itself that always ends up either forgotten or residing only in memory. And so part of what each Annex does is allow the community to touch it, to hold it, to actually become a part of it. Now, the Florida Annex was the first to have its own location. They finished theirs before the mothership actually physically finished our own. And when the 2 curators, or 2 griots as we call them, storytellers, had to pass it on, they made a very wonderful choice to pass it on and have it be housed at the woodshed. But there is a lot more to an annex than just the location it's in. There is also the living memory, the storytelling, the curating that goes along with having an annex. The ability also to come home, Canadian, you're hiding, to come home to the mothership, share, bring things home, and take more back to the community that the annex serves.
Plunder.
Plunder is such a harsh word.
Treasure.
Treasure, much better.
Grab one of those magazines I just threw out to you.
You know, every time we have one of these, I'm learning that I don't follow the rules when we're in Evansville. I don't come home with more than I come to Evansville with. I'm going to have to work on that.
You're doing it wrong.
And so,
I am.
and so now I get to back up, comedian. You're coming forward. I'm backing up.
Oh,
because I said so, because I can. See, the nice thing about old women is I get to be a pain in the ass and bossy. But I wanted, since I happen to have them here, to have them talk to you about Florida,
Oh,
the woodshed, and what they do. Not to mention what they're going through and discovering. Come here,
That's
you.
your job.
Oh,
You're the designated extrovert
yeah,
in
I'm
this
the extrovert.
scenario.
Yeah, okay.
Snuggle
So,
with them.
yeah, you can snuggle with them. So,
You guys, first tell us what it's like being in the library.
this is mind blowing. Now,
So being in the library is one thing. Being in the library with Mama is another thing.
completely different situation.
Anything you pick up, you're like, what's this? Let me tell you about that.
And that gives you anywhere from 30 seconds to 3 minutes, sometimes 20 minutes, depending on what it is, about that item and where it came from. Now, I have yet, and I have picked up a fuck ton of stuff around here. I have yet to pick up something that she goes, I'm not sure. She can tell you about it. It's just mind-boggling. And this is where you are an asset that you don't know what you are. But we have got to record you talking about these things.
Oh man,
And-
it feels like
Yeah, right. But she can tell you, oh yeah, and that guy was with this guy, and they lived in this city, and then and they also started this and this magazine. It's bloody incredible. I just happened across in a book or in a box that was not labeled yet. This is a box you haven't gone through yet, by the way. Yeah,
I didn't
it's.
even know that was a thing.
Oh, are you kidding? No, subscriber.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, this where to go? There, that'll work. Yeah, Florida Fetish Forum, right? It was a whopping $12.95 if you can see it up here. I remember paying that $4.95 often. I don't remember how long ago it was, but I know it was when I was a young. I was a pretty young tinkling. I know that. And I just happened across 3 of these. Did I just throw at you? 3 or 4 of these. And I'm like, holy crap, look at this. The stuff that is here is who we are. It's where we came from. And when each generation thinks that each generation thinks that we created this, that we all, we're brand new, all this kinky stuff. Nobody ever thought of that stuff, And then we find out, we come here and we see stuff from, I was showing Rob 1903. But what was that one that was up in the top right up there in the 1701 of all unholy things. And this is what's published. These are published works. It's mind-boggling. It's absolutely, if you ever get a chance to come here, plan a week. Well, okay, I'm not going to tell you to make a big donation, but in my opinion, we ought to make a big donation and plan a week. We're looking forward to doing some really cool stuff. We have given Mama some ideas, and they're going to be some good ideas, and hopefully we might be hitting you up. By the way, Matthew, just letting you know, there, brother, I love you. Not that I threw you under the bus or anything, but
What am I doing now?
things, stuff.
Stuff.
Oh,
What's
so-
a little more stuff?
Yeah, right. Well, Florida. Mama says, tell her more about Florida. So,
So one of the cool things about Florida Annex is because it is at the woodshed.
Yeah.
Every weekend,
anyone can walk in and look at the stuff that's in the library.
Right.
Like it's out and available.
It's out and available. You can finger it, you can play, you can read it. And you don't have to be a member of the woodshed. You don't have to pay any money to be there. Because it's not inside the members only area. It's actually one of the rooms off of our shop. We have a shop, you know, where people can buy stuff. And yeah, you have to enter and exit through the gift shop in true Florida fashion. In true Disney Florida fashion, you enter through the gift shop and then you exit through the gift shop, and you know.
That's not Disney. That's pure Florida.
Yeah, okay. But the annex is housed in our coffee room. So there's free coffee, there's places to sit, there's good lighting, and you can go in there and just be with it, and you can look through your history, and you can look through where we came from, and some of it is well, some of it honestly brings me to tears. It to remember some of these things and to know where we came from, and to realize the stuff that our forebears did, and what they went through, and what they've done to give us the liberty to do what it is that we do is humbling, and it really makes you feel like you're part of something that is so much greater than you by yourself, and you and your tribe. For fuck's sake, there are 16,000 members of the woodshed. That's still a minuscule drop in the itty bitty bucket of the universe of King. And we get to see this, and we get to touch it, and we can smell it, and we can read it, and we can read what they wrote in the 40s, 30s, 20s, 10s, aughts, 18s, and we can read it, and we know it, and those that study history know enough about history to know that in the 18s it was absolutely scandal to see an ankle or a wrist. I mean, that was one-handed reading material, you know.
The Sears catalog.
Right? Sears catalog. Now I'm guilty of that. That ain't that damn old, because I remember I did that. Shut up, you.
Sir, can you tell me just a couple of examples of what you have in the Florida Annex? Anything spring to mind?
Oh goodness, Darce, that's your
You're a librarian.
Yeah.
So I totally posted, like, one of the first things that I looked at was installments of Brat Attack. That doesn't say anything about me at all. It's this old zine that was out, and there's this adorable comic written on there of Bottoms making fun of how to be a top 101. And I posted on the Woodshed profile because it was so freaking adorable. Got lots of episodes, or lots of what do you call the issues of Drummer.
Yeah. Lots of Drummer.
Yeah. When it comes to like magazines and stuff, it kind of runs the gamut.
Yeah.
There's Sammy Utopia Guardians in there.
Yeah.
It's actually what I'm flipping through more of right back there. And then there's also, as one of our folks likes to call it, fiction and faction when it comes to books. So there's one shelf that's like the how-tos, and then there's the other shelf that's like the wish you coulds and stuff like that. So there's books too. There's books too. And I actually just posted on my Facebook profile a little teaser picture of a stack of the rare books that we're going to be bringing. So when he's talking about like the 1800s and stuff like that, we're bringing back some of those now too.
Yeah, they'll actually be in the library and be available for people to not check out, but to look at and to read. It does
not say anything about me, but there's two in there all about the fascinating chastity devices of back in the day. And one on corsetry from back in the day.
Oh, cool. We've got some people that are really getting into the course.
I bet that's a cool book. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But there's just all kinds of there's just all kind. It really is a gambit. Matter of fact, we're gathering a mess of stuff on piercing because we just started a piercing and body art group at the Woodshed. One of our DMs in coordination with just Rob. I hope you don't mind me calling you out, brother. Are creating a piercing and body modification and
All the
needles,
sharp and pointy
yeah,
business.
all the sharp and pointy businesses thing at the Woodshed. So we just came up here to the mothership, and lo and behold, right over there is a whole mess of the PFIQ, which you just mentioned was,
Piercing Fans International Quarterly.
and that one was put out by
That was Jim Ward.
Jim Ward, right?
Could you repeat the title? We couldn't hear Mama.
PFIQ,
Piercing Fans.
Piercing Fans International Quarterly. I was going to say, Darcy, you want to grab one, but that might be-
Yeah, you're right. You get one.
Was that the stuff that we grabbed a bunch of? already?
Yeah, we already got some for the
Yes.
annex.
Yeah,
We got
they're
the
right over there.
for the annex, but
I'm looking at the things y'all can't see. They're right over there.
okay, let's see. This is PFIQ number 1 right here. Yeah. I'm looking at the screen. Yeah. But you can't.
There, yours the color.
Yeah. And
Cool.
but looking at these things, you know, what you're looking at there is just the front cover and the back cover. But you know, actually looking through some of them, it's just bloody amazing. And you know, we all think, oh wow, we're just creating this. And you look back at this magazine that was written, I don't know what year it was, but it's been a while. And yeah, they were doing this too. You know, and it's neat stuff, and you get ideas, and you can learn things. Obviously, Fakir wrote and did a lot of things, and we still haven't got that. We didn't find that movie. Yeah,
You had to read the book with the movie chapter about 400.
right.
Did I mention?
Yes, thing.
No, that's a bit.
So we're gonna, you know, Fakir Mustafa, obviously the one of the guys that was you know, noted to be the father of lots of kinky stuff here in the States. We've got a set of his books, a set of his or one of his books, a set of his magazines, and we're going to bring back one of his movies. Did he only do one, or did he do two? I think he only did one.
Sacred and the Same Gym.
Yeah.
And I think he did one just on body plate. He's been part of the movie.
Right. Yeah.
But I think, you know, focusing on him, I think there were two.
Yeah.
He and Cleo, his wife.
Yeah. I remember. Yeah.
And then the one with the
Yep. See how you learn shit? That's how you do it. I just tricked her into it, just so you know. But that's exactly how I learned stuff. What was that?
Somebody just came in and they hadn't gotten muted yet.
Oh, okay. But honest to Pete, guys, it's a hell of a thing to be here and to be learning this stuff and to be seeing this stuff and to be so blessed to be able to bring some of it back to our people in Orlando and Florida in general, because you can come and just put your hand on it, and you can look through it. It's not somewhere where it's inaccessible, and I'm really glad that we're able to provide that kind of a resource.
Fantastic. Thank
I
you.
can remind you all, a library is only a library as long as it's growing. It is a living thing as long as you contribute. Yes, it is full of history, but it is also full of the present. There's a lot of memory here. There are pins here, newsletters that are current. just like pushy bottom obedient top society. And yes, it existed. We even had our own theme song. But it is as each generation contributes so that they can see themselves in the library, that it keeps growing and living. One of the reasons for the annexes, IMHO, and that's not the crazy one. History is wonderful, but it's that thing that's a go until you realize that it's in the present and the now and the present.
Yeah.
But that doesn't happen until you can hold it and touch it and realize it is a part of you and you are a part of it.
Yeah.
Hence, this is a library, not a museum. I want you to take it out, smell it, hold it, fantasize about who had it before you. Remember, this is one of the few libraries where sex happens all the time, not on the book. And clean it after yourself. But then it becomes real. You can hear the voices of your ancestors and realize you're making a contribution just by calling their names. That is what a library is meant to be. In this case, it's a library that looks a lot like home. So you come in, you take off your shoes, you put your feet up, you may fall asleep on the floor, reading a book, you may fall asleep in the book room, maybe it's time to just cover you up and go mentally. You may fall asleep over in the center with a stack of books on one side and bleary-eyed alarm clocks on the other going, I can read or I can sleep, oh hell. Because here, you're part of it.
Mama, do me a favor and scoot a little closer to the laptop, please.
Oh, let me duck
Come
back
on.
here and make more room for you. Oh.
Thank you.
So they came to cheer me up. They just didn't.
That's okay. We're okay.
They've
with
done it. They've done a pretty good job, I would say. Mission accomplished.
We got points on our Southwest card. We can come see you.
All right, Mama.
Empty suitcase.
Empty suitcase.
Empty suitcase. You bring a little up, you take a little back. It keeps the community happy.
Mama, how are you doing on everything that you wanted to talk about? Are you good?
I'm good. I am delighted. I got to showcase two people I adored. They got to talk about what they're doing. And once again, it is part of their journey. They're not just Leatherfoot. They're businessmen helping this tribe. As I was listening to Master Cecil come pretty close to cussing somebody out over a delivery, it's a delivery of printed material going to the NCSF because they have their hands in a printing company. They get to help this tribe. But that now tells me when someone I love needs printing done, I can keep that money in this community.
Yep.
So we all are one and tighter the more we share.
True. Yeah. Absolutely.
So now I guess it's time to open it for anybody who might have a question.
I have a special treat for everybody this evening. We're going to get to spend about an hour, and you can unmute yourselves and please stay on topics we discussed this evening or the library in general. And because Cecil and Darcy are there, questions about the Florida Annex.
Yes.
So if you would like to raise your hand, and I will recognize, and you can unmute and join the conversation this evening. We're going to have about an hour of you guys getting to interact with Mama, Cecil, and Darcy. Does anybody have a question?
Stun silence.
Yeah, it takes everybody a minute to unmute and type and blah.
Feel free. Feel free to unmute and ask a question.
I mean, if nobody has a question, I can just run over to another room, grab something and be like, Mama, what's this?
That would be fun. Unfettered access to ask Mama anything on topic or about the library. Going once.
God help you.
Going twice.
Them
We'll just let Mama squirrel for an hour.
I do have a question.
Who's that? Jared, go ahead.
So you said that there's multiple annexes. Where are the other annexes?
Okay, now you're really testing an old woman's memory, so let's start at the bottom and go forward.
Forgive me.
Florida, Georgia, Hampton Roads, Baltimore, Boston, Seattle, Costa Rica, and Singapore. Now, those are the ones that deal with books. We have a specialty annex that deals with leather. Because of the history that leather holds. It is, if you think about it, far more than just the hide. It is also the history of the wearer. And the whole purpose of the leather annex is to not only record the stories of a lot of that leather, but to find people to pass some of it on to with the story of the person who had it. Now, an example that I use quite often, there was 25 years ago, there was a young leatherman that I knew in Dallas who had gotten his first major break in Seattle. His stuff was being shipped, but he was going to ride his brand new bike all the way from Seattle to at an auction, because I wanted to contribute. I bought the first leather jacket of a man that I adored and put it on Shane so that he could ride in Jim Richards' spirit. And Jim said, why didn't you say something? I'd given it to him. I said, I wanted to contribute. But then I got the rider together with the original owner so that they could talk. 28 years later, he still wears that jacket. And 28 years later, he's still good friends with the man who first owned it. That is part of the job of the leather annex. This is something that still records history, but it's not exactly books.
I'm impressed that the guy can still wear it 28 years later. Because 28 years ago, I weighed about half a life.
One of my old friends, Joe Arno, who is one of the cornerstones of the women's leather, was always out in the classic Air Force brown leather. Now, when Joe and I met in 1970,
What was that date, Mama?
yes, she was wearing Air Force brown. The last time I saw her 2 years ago, she was still in the same brown leather. I love her. I don't like her very much.
Yeah.
I'm in the same size. It just has a bigger number in front of it.
There you go.
Oh, yeah, mine still says L at the end.
Yeah, right.
It went from a 38 to a 56, but it's still L.
Peg, go ahead.
Hi, I was wondering if the Florida Annex will be at Beyond Leather.
They haven't requested it, and we haven't talked about it. But since we're at a fixed location, and anybody can come anytime, we don't know. We haven't talked. And honestly, we haven't talked to Mama about doing doing that kind of stuff. So I don't know.
Thank you, Master Cecil.
You're welcome. Good to see you, by the way, Peg.
Nice to see you too.
Jared, did that answer your question?
Yes, it did, and thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Anybody else? Questions about the library? Florida Annex?
Magazine.
Oh my goodness. What's this one?
There was a question in the chat.
Oh, I'm sorry. How can folks arrange to visit the library for a few days? Also wondering how the Boot Black exhibit is going.
The Boot Black exhibit gets bigger every time Tom sends a donation. There is either a book or a t-shirt that just keeps getting added. for background information, about 7 years ago, as the Boot Black Brigade was beginning to disband, they asked if we would create a Boot Black exhibit. If we would create a Boot Black exhibit to celebrate Boot Blacks. Well, they were thinking, you know, the list of title holders and blah, blah, blah. I was thinking more of Boot Black history, of the different cans, brushes, polishes, Boot Black art, going back to the late 1800s. So all of that keeps ending up in the Boot Black exhibit, and it's just getting larger and larger. As a matter of fact, I have suggested to Robbie that there might be a couple of events where the Boot Black exhibit alone should go. So that it can be spotlighted on its own rather than just the library. Now, how do you get here? You go on the Facebook, you go into the group, you go, Mom, is anybody staying in the scholars room this weekend? If the answer is no, we go, so are we penciling you in? Because whoever is in the scholars room has access both to the center, which is where they stay, and the library. Since the library, they keep teasing Darcy's English. Since the library is also part of what we call Library Lane. You have Katerina and her husband Sebastian in one building, Boy Robbie across the street, next to Robbie, Jack. So there is an entire family on this street.
And it was featured on the local news today.
Today, yeah, we made the news today because of a special project. What did I say, Matt?
I made the news today, and I added the oh boy.
Consensually.
Yeah.
Consensually.
Yeah.
On Library Lane, of the 13 houses of this block, 7 of them belong to that. And
Well, they're working on the rest of it.
well, yeah, they all need to leave the block. That's a whole different issue. We need more space, both for the library and the house people, so everybody get off the block. But in front of the 7 houses that are part of the family are words of inspiration. They say teach, pride, empower, inspire, hope, love, believe, things like that. The hope was to get more people in Evansville to put things on their lawn that would lift the spirit instead of cutting it down with hate speech. That maybe it was time we lifted each other up. So what we called the Judson Street Words Project ended up both on the front page of the local newspaper and on the news, CJLC, the local news station this evening. So the library is just in the middle of the street.
Making waves, making good things happen.
Is it the first time we've been on the news?
This
Probably.
is the first good time.
Oh,
The street has been on the news a number of times that were negative. And
I
then
thought-
along comes us and this neighborhood began to change.
I thought the murals made the news. That's why I was asking.
True, and the murals made the news as well. Another art project. We brought in a young artist from New Mexico who specialized in murals. As a matter of fact, it's Robbie's nephew. And I said, if I would pay your airfare and supply you with the paint, what else would you need? Put a mural on the side of the building. Well, as it turned out, he put 2.5 because the little one on the center is much smaller. So it was it wasn't something funded by the city. It was funded by the family. So the news people came out and went, so what the hell is going on Judson Street? We've been hearing nothing but the bad because there have been drugs and shootouts. Not anymore.
Good shit happened.
Mama has brought love to Judson Street.
And it's in big letters out front.
Right. I saw that.
Yes,
John,
She even labeled it.
Sean Smile asks, is there digital access to library content?
we're working on it.
That's one of the things that we are currently working on, and we're going to do a little poking and prodding and cajoling. But,
We're very excited. We're taking the book scanner home with us. It's gonna be great.
exactly. And it's gonna be pretty cool. We think we might have figured out how to do it. Matter of fact, Rob, I might be talking to you a little bit if you don't mind, sir, about some good stuff and picking that amazing brain of yours.
We also have the YouTube channel. I am pulling the link up right now so that I can link it in the chat. Master Cecil mentioned earlier recording Mama as much as we could. I'm going to tell the story again of the threat to make a leather vest with a camera. Let me spotlight myself here so I can demonstrate. We were going to have Mama. We were going to have a leather vest made with a tripod that sticks out the front with a GoPro pointing back at Mama, so we could record literally everything she says from now on.
Yep.
This plan fell apart when we realized that Mama would be in charge of changing the batteries and restarting the GoPro. And that was the end of that. So we convinced Mama to, I showed her how to use Zoom at her computer desk. And I told her whenever she had a story that came to mind that she wanted to tell, to go sit down at her desk, open Zoom and record it. And she has been doing that. And we have been posting those stories and shout outs and unboxings and everything else that she has done on the YouTube channel. So I'm going to pull the YouTube channel link and link that in the chat.
Before you do that, in the little pin case on the desk.
Darcy is still exploring.
Right in front of the book, on the bookcase, there's a black frame. Flip the frame up and grab the pin that says LAPD free this way.
Oh, yeah, we found that pin earlier today. And now that we had the story to put behind it, it was really impressive.
Master Cecil, I have a question. What's your favorite part of a library so far?
Oh, the thing, yeah, that.
The whole thing? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's my favorite part of the library. It really is. It's just, all of this stuff is, there's lots of things, there's lots of stuff. It's amazing. But to hear the story of the stuff, of the thing, of the, well, that was back when, and if she starts off with when dinosaurs were young, or dinosaurs roamed the earth and God was young, you're in for a story. By the way,
can I get you to perhaps demonstrate that?
Yes,
you want to just pick up?
We're just about to put some love in the Mama box. And
okay, once upon a time, when God was not that young, and dinosaurs were just kind of dying off, a man named Larry Townsend, who was in charge of a group called the Homophile Empowerment League for Protection, HELP, put out a newspaper called Drummer. The purpose of the newspaper was not just articles about what was going on in the community. It was also to let the community know what was going on with the police, because the Los Angeles police were known for rolling leather bars in the late 60s through the mid 70s. Not only was it how they got publicity and showed the community that they were after those faggots, but it's also how they got an awful lot of extra cash. both by legal and some by illegal means. Well, anyway, there had been a lot of busts. Larry decided, against the wishes of a lot of other people, including Jack Fritzer, that he was going to have a fundraiser to help with some of the bail and to pay some of the lawyers. And the fundraiser was going to be a charity slave auction. Well, at some point, one of the LAPD's many spies went back to the police and said, they're going to be selling slaves, they're going to be auctioning off slaves. Oh my God, this is human trafficking and blah, 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 blah. The LAPD worked themselves up into all kinds of frenzies and then went and raided the bathhouse where this auction was going on, making a huge spectacle of this, including in front of the news and everything else, only to find out that it wasn't human trafficking. It was a charity auction.
Okay, now pause just a moment. Now think about the local captain of the police, of the PD, right? And he's like, I know how I'm getting reelected. So he calls all the local media. How many times have they done this, right? We all know they do this. And calls all the local media. We're gonna take care of these slave traders. Now let's set that in motion. Set that as the basis for the rest of this story.
So, needless to say, it was not what they thought it was, although there were a number of arrests made. The story hit the paper and then went to trial and pretty much got laughed out of existence. A number of fundraisers were done to pay the legal expenses for the lawyers, etc. And there were a lot of fundraisers. As a matter of fact, some of the memorabilia from that is up for sale now on eBay. Some seller has one of the shirts for sale, one of the pins, which I'm about to show you, on a few photographs for like $1,700. I'm wondering why he isn't sharing what he's smoking for that. But there were a number of fundraisers, one of which was the card that I'm about to show you, put out by, because I'm going to show you back first to see if you can see the leather fraternity logo, which was an arm of drummer. Note the cover. Note the inside.
Oh, hold on. Maybe we need to flip this. Can you guys read that, or is that?
Let's
not-
have a big slave auction.
So, needle, needle, needle. The t-shirt sold, as did this pin. Where am I that this is hitting the layer? Does that work?
The LAPD freed the slaves April 18th, 1976.
Now, why don't you imagine about 1,000 of these on people's vests, the t-shirts, etc. So the LAPD was looking at their mistake constantly and being laughed at constantly over all of the hoopla that they raised, only to find out a whole bunch of gay guys were just trying to raise money for Jack.
And this was Larry Townsend put all this together?
Yeah, and he was warned not to, actually, by a number of folk who were attached to help, who all said, no, this is just not one of your better ideas. He did it anyway, and woo!
That's awesome. Welcome, Scott. Thank you for joining us. Good to see you.
Hello, good to see everyone.
Is that Mr. Erickson I'm hearing?
It's Mr. Erickson.
Hi, Scott.
I had another meeting. It was a Marauders meeting, so that's why I'm a little late.
No worries. Everyone, we've had some folks join us. We are in the Ask Mama Anything about the library, and Cecil and Darcy are present this evening. So any questions about the Florida Annex?
Love it. something more for the public.
Everybody's a little quiet this evening. Scott, do you have any questions for Mama or the Florida Annex?
Hey, Scott.
Oh, no, not really. Just always in, just kind of listening.
I can't think of any way to embarrass you tonight.
Oh, why would that happen? Or how would that happen?
You know, in showing magazines and pins and all sorts of wonderful things, and showing off a few magazines that most hadn't seen, like Walking News, a pup magazine. It's tremendous, and unfortunately, really didn't get off the ground. Or Echoes of Radicus, and some of the specialty mags that I don't know. I think should still be, you know, in publication. You know, and in the title holders bringing back drumming and producing a magazine that is still top quality. I think we're beginning to see the resurgence again of publications. I was saying low. Wait. Okay. And I think that's going to be a good thing. People are discovering paper again. After all, the internet is good and the tablet is wonderful, but you can't read it in the bathroom.
Actually, you can.
Yeah. This is where I'm glad Char's not on the call at the moment, because she would have corrected that, served some correct information on that one. But
You know, you gotta concentrate on things. You need a magazine. If you're in the taking a leisurely bath, you shouldn't be taking the tablet or phone. Magazine, paper.
I don't
Yes.
disagree. Published a magazine for a reason. So I agree, 100%.
Speaking of which,
Oh, don't.
I mean that one.
That would be the one and only.
Oh, goodness.
Never seen that, Cecil?
Yeah, I've seen it.
Isn't it amazing the things you find at grandma's? 2004. Oh my God, I'm old.
Oh, goodness. Anybody, questions for Mama or Master Cecil or the awesome and immutably perfect in every way Darcy, who is currently hiding behind Mama?
I think that might lead to what the creation of the Carter Johnson Library was.
Ooh.
Mama, could you tell us a bit about how you came to work for the Leather Archives and Museum?
Okay, let's back the story up.
Hold on.
Again, dinosaurs were not quite roaming anymore. When Jill and I were coming out, when we were tinklings in the very early 70s, a lot of wonderful material was given to us to read, the hands-on stuff that were gifts from our mentors. Some of it we kept, some of it we gave back, some of it we gave away, as it's the nature of nature. Fade out. We moved to Los Angeles. And the community there, especially the women's community, was really just beginning to come out. Leather and Lace, which was the sister group to LSF, had a lot of wonderful leather women, but not a lot of printed matter. So we shared what we had with them. And those 2 or 3 boxes kind of grew to about 7 or 8. Let's do another jump in time. Moved from Los Angeles ultimately, and these are all corporate jobs, to Tulsa, Oklahoma. And Tulsa was an interesting city, amazing gay population, but it was just rebuilding itself after the first wave of AIDS. So a whole generation didn't have a lot of people to turn to for information and mentors. Those kinklings ended up a lot in our living room. But Tulsa was also building its first rebuild, its leather life. And a group was being formed. As a matter of fact, they formed the weekend after we moved, called CJLC, the Tulsa Uniform Leather Seekers Association. Well, my club, mostly my club brothers, knew we had come from Los Angeles and why do you have the Can you tell me about I'm running for a contest. Do you have any information about do you have a copy of and our answer was usually, well, it's in the boxes. And the boxes began to grow and grow and grow. Well, I may have lived in Oklahoma, but I was serving in California, and I drove a lot. Now, Oklahoma was a state where you could have it, but you could not send it through the mail. So I was driving back and forth cross country because I enjoy driving, but I was also driving a 68 Plymouth with a trunk that could probably raise a family of 4. So I was bringing back 3 or 4 copies of the Leather Journal, copies of programs, t-shirts from events, the latest books, all for my kinklings and my club brothers. And it just kept growing. Well, my love of history was not lost on any number of my friends, one of whom was a man named Anthony DeLaws. And this new little institution was forming to try to save it. We weren't even sure what it was, but we knew we needed to save it. And would I join him on the board of directors? Actually, it wasn't quite put that politely at first. It was more like, you're going to be on the board of directors of the Leather Archives. And of course, what do you say to Daddy except, sir, yes, sir?
You got voluntold.
I got voluntold.
Yeah.
And as Tony put it, he said, I am a gay man. I don't always know where to find it. You are part of a lesbian couple raised by 3 men, 2 of whom were gay, in a het group. Go fetch. And that literally was my job on the board of directors. My pin on my vest said Daddy's Golden Retriever.
I didn't know that.
That was my nickname on the board. I was Daddy's Golden Retriever. And in building my own collection again, and building the archives collection, we sort of came to an understanding that the need to preserve it was important, but the need for people to make contact with it was equally as important. As a result, I was doing a presentation that I called Leather Show and Tell, where I would do a 1 hour and literally pass things around going back to me so that people could have an encounter. I went to bid on something on this new entity called eBay because I wanted a very specific style of book to show in Leather Show and Tell. I ended up getting the book for a lot of different reasons, outbidding someone in the days where we could talk to each other, and found out that I wanted the book to save it, and he wanted the book to burn it. I have a temper that very few people get to see. I will. And about 5 weeks later, I had to be in Atlanta for Southeast Leather Fest. And a young man came up to me because he needed to talk. As it turned out, he had had a book burning in front of his store. And he was afraid for his clients. I talked him out of closing the store, went up to my room, screamed into the universe things that I dare not read, probably left a hole in the ozone over Atlanta, and swore that day that if I had to beg it, borrow it, steal it, save it, swipe it, top the mortgage for it, I really didn't care. You did not get to burn my family's house. It's just that simple. And what was my hobby for a class became my obsession. And those few boxes grew into 2 buildings was my work. And we're still going. Because now, a community that, to some extent, Jill, my partner, and I have helped raise. And listen, because my partner, the first Black international Miss Leather, spent her title year collecting women's memorabilia and money for the archives. So we have spent a good portion of our life not just saving this tribe's history, because that's okay, but teaching this tribe to value who they are, the path that has gotten them this far, and the fact that they're expected to contribute to that path and bring all of that knowledge back for safekeeping so that the next generation can keep it.
That's one of the things I love about you, Mama Vi.
The community has been made wonderfully aware because now they want to hold it and touch it and not just save it, but have a relationship with it. And as a result, people are sending the memorabilia, the things, the memories, not just the books and magazines, although we are predominantly, but not exclusively, paper versions. They're sending the things that make this tribe who they are. They're sending kids, they're sending personal stories. Men, and again, Tom, I'm throwing you under the bus, and Scott, I'm throwing you under the bus. Our historians, the people who have lived it, are guaranteeing that it will not be lost. That the next generation can hold Tony DeBlas's master's cover, can touch his jacket, can look at the path, can see their elders and know that they're not just some mythical figure behind glass, that they are part of the path that we're on. And when I can add those pieces to great storytellers like Scott, like Thomas is very rarely talks about his story as the first Mr. Oregon, and like Master Cecil and Darcy and their journey to create the woodshed and why they did it. It humanizes an amazing story, but it also tells our generation, and I've said this before and I will repeat it, that all that they are and all that they are is the next stepping stone in a very long. And now that the community has come together, mostly, partially, to help Grandma, but far more importantly, to help themselves learn to who they are. This is outgrowing me at a pace that is so delightfully fast. I never imagined that the help is coming from all directions. The things are coming from all directions to build it, to digitize it, to preserve it, and then give it back in formats that I could never imagine 10 years ago. To be able to send a scanner down to Florida and know that God only knows how many volumes of scanned material are coming back. To abuse Shaw because we're about to make this website a whole lot bigger. To focus on the YouTube channel so these stories are available. To begin to upload the stats so that the material can be held, touched, and utilized by not just scholars, but by some little genderqueer in East Asshole, Iowa, who believes he's the only one.
Right.
Until he can look through the library and go, oh my God, I'm not alone. I'm not alone. I'm not alone.
I'm right there.
And that in and of itself could give our next generation the courage to realize the bully can't hurt you. Harm you, yes, but not take you down, because a black eye is one thing, a black spirit is another. And if you know you're not alone, all it is a black eye. The rest of it is, I got more in my spirit than I ever have, because they're one with the community, the hidden system. That's what the community is giving us.
I'm gonna follow that up. Is that all right?
Please.
So, one of the, well, quite honestly, the biggest reason the woodshed still exists, because that son of a bitch cost me a lot of money for the first many years, right? But the biggest reason that thing still exists is about once, used to be about once every 3 weeks, somebody would breach the door. They first breaching that door is a big deal. Getting across the threshold is a big deal. If they breach the door, look around, they lean up against the wall and start crying.
Yes.
And they can see that they're no longer the freak, they're no longer the outcast, that they have a tribe, that they have a place. And that is, honest to God, that's the whole reason we kept dumping money.
Yep.
Now, it's less often these days because people got the internet. They get that, you know, it's easier to search now, it's easier to find stuff now. But to actually find a tribe, to find a people, and to be able to make those people yours, and to be able to join that tribe is tough. And to be able to be the place that people are able to do that, it's the reason you do what you do.
Priceless.
I know other people in this call are doing the same thing. Rob's one of them. I know other people are doing the things, and yeah, and it's just, you just see it. You see it when they just lean up against the wall and they can finally breathe. First time they've taken a real breath in possibly, years. They don't have to hide. Yeah.
When we didn't even have about 10 years ago, and this little gender girl walked in that I didn't even think was legal. And I was very fortunate because one of my services was there.
Mama, lean forward just a little, please.
This
Sorry.
little thing walked in and stood in the doorway of the library. It's one of the few times we actually had 2 entrances. And then started touching things, just walking with their hand out, touching the books. I have no idea what this child picked up. When he sat down in a chair that was easily 20 feet from me, holding this book like this and rocking, and I could hear the tears, and this child was going, I'm not alone, I'm not alone, I'm not alone, I'm not alone. And he was repeating it to the point, or they, I should say, to the point where I was almost afraid this kid was going to have some kind of break. And I sent our youngest daughter, Jackie, over, because every time we knew her, we grandma.
Yeah.
And they talked for the longest time. They probably talked for an hour. And this little thing just got up and just started touching books. Now I'm about 20 feet away and I'm bawling like a baby. But this little thing realized I am okay.
Yeah.
Because I have found my tribe. I'm okay. I'm not sick. I'm not degenerate. I'm not what they say I am. I am okay. And I know that now. And has it been worth it? Joe Screams will never retire, of course not. The 2 buildings that we have are literally my retirement fund bond. The one that we're working on in the community. I wasn't going to have another gunfire down the streets. We snatched the house from the drug dealers 2 years ago. And this neighborhood has done all the work. There are flowers and trees and people walking babies and walking their dogs and jogging. because the library is here. There are 5 flags flying over the wall. You didn't need to say anything to the interview. Flags are flying behind.
That's pretty cool.
And now as the community has come and gone, well, we can take this off of shoulders. So that relax. It's gonna be okay. And I sit and I look and I marvel and the gratitude for this library and others who have supported this library. We're going, we got your back. Better yet, sit down, we got your front. And I'm not worried anymore. This phenomenon will go. And it's a place where the lunch group meets in the back when it's warm, and gay couples are walking down the street because the white flag says they're safe. And heaven only knows. One of the people that has a house a block away has a sign up that says free mom hugs and the Lambda sign. Neighborhood is changing. And the community is making a change. And I'm eternally grateful as a person.
Never again landfill, never again
Never
flags.
again. And that's a whole nother tirade that we're going to get on in another, another
different Zoom.
different Zoom.
Mama, you made me reach over to my shelf. It's the very first issue. And most folks probably don't know this. I couldn't afford to have this taken to a printer and printed. So I bought a laser printer that would print 11 by 17 paper.
Oh,
And I printed the pages individually. And me and a few members from CAPEX in Charlotte, North Carolina, had a party where we folded these. The only thing I had printed sent out was the covers. And we had a party where we folded them all and stapled them. And this is the very first one that came off. I reached over and grabbed that since you took me down memory lane. Now, Peg had a great question. And I think I know the answer to this one. Mama Vi, will you ever say no to any more new material? Also, what is your most prized possession in the library and why?
ooh. There you go.
First one first.
Will I ever say no? Yes. Well, and I just saw about 9 heads go, huh? Because the library started with my vision, and that vision is expanding. There are some things I just won't touch. I'm not trying to yuck anybody's yum, but there are some things that I just can't do. Now, that's not to say that may not change with the next director. I will not collect. We have a few pieces of. I will not move the collection around. Not something I can't. That doesn't mean I'm climbing down the ass of somebody who may have that as a fetish. I just can't. There are certain academic works that have been done about bestiality. Just regular stories, no. There are a number of works that have been done on its scholarly works, done in the 30s, 40s, even up to the 60s. If it's one-handed reading, the answer is no. If it's academic, yes, but it stays in the vault and it comes out on the list. I will not touch anything that deals with anything. Notice I did not say anyone that cannot give consent to it. So yes, there are things that I will not touch. Now, as could we maybe do that by category?
told you it was a great question.
Actually,
The book that started
Darcy's
it all.
going to give you a quick run-through. In the reading room, in the corner, there is my staff.
Oh, yeah. No, reading room. Yeah.
It's in the corner.
Go straight ahead, sweetie. All the way.
Now, some of you are going to say this is a cop-out, but I'm going to have to explain this. So we're back to one of those in the beginning when God created the earth stories. This is the griot's staff. Now, in the library, and there are a couple of terms we use that are not entirely accurate. We use the term library because that's something people will understand. The reality is these two buildings are a ginormous story circle. They contain the stories of your ancestors in a lot of different forms. The role of the storyteller in most West African traditions, the term used is griot. Now, the role of the griot was not just to tell tribal stories. It was also to learn the tribe's history, all the way down to the various families. When Alex Haley, for those of you who remember the book Roots, went back to his village in, I think it was Ghana, the tribal griot sat down at a tribal gathering and told him the entire story of his family until Kunta Kinte went fishing one day and never came home. Kunta Kinte was the young boy who went fishing, was captured by slavers and taken to the United States. That is the griot's job. Tribal griot is supposed to know the history of the tribe and be able to tell it in stories that are engaging. The staff of a storyteller has to be given to a storyteller by a storyteller only. It is earned. This was a gift to me. Actually, two of them were a gift to me because they are brother and sister. This comes from Benin. She is very female, and she is the proof that I am a griot. It was given to me by a griot. Now, each storyteller tends to decorate their staff with something that tells their own story, and mine is no different. The carnelian beads were made for me by a young vampire and wanted her story. I had helped her with her own identity and given her books and wanted her story attached. The feather, yes, it is an evil feather, which means technically it's an evil feather. Reminds me that my story is much reached the ears of my ancestors and must be proven. The lock and key, I think, are explanatory. Not only am I in theory, the master of the story, I am also bound to my tribe. So I carry both as a reminder. The tooth is actually mine. It was the first thing I ever lost from my own body, so I kept it. We all come from the universe, and to the universe we return. Hence the goddess pendant. There is one small bag that is slipped off that I have to put back on. In that bag is a little piece of my mother's ashes because she was a storyteller, and a nail from the slave cabin that belonged to my great grandmother was raised in. It was a gift to me from the man who now, from the family actually, that now owns the plantation, that one part of the family came from. They're all part of my story. And this staff is not only a symbol of my pledge to my tribe, And by the way, every library, every annex has their own staff, because the staff is present when the storyteller is present. So in most tribes, even in Native American tribes, with the story stick, if the stick is by the fire, the storyteller will be telling stories that night. So the staff is always present when the griot is around. This is the griot's home. So when we are not traveling, because the staff travels with us, and every griot earns their own staff. Each one is picked by me for the storyteller once they earn it. So mine stays here. This is she. He stays in the other building. Robbie's staff is at Robinson's. And Tracy Wolf from San Francisco, who earned her staff because of the work she did with Will, telling stories and reporting stories in the library. Her staff travels with her whenever she does interviews and so on. So while there are many, many books, magazines, pieces of memorabilia that are special to me, because in acquiring so many of them, they become personal. If something happens and ultimately the staff will belong to the next director when I become an ancestor. And someone said, pick up one thing and go into the yard and tell stories. This would be what I do. So, Peg, how's that for answering your question? Or at least I think it was Peg.
That was Peg, and I would say that was very well done, Mom. And I wouldn't call that a cop-out. Does anybody else have any questions? We've got a few minutes left.
I actually do.
Please, Scott.
Which is kind of on the what you were talking about before, things that you would or would not put into the library. I recently mailed you a particular book. You said you were going to read it first. Did you read it?
I am in the process. I'm about a third of the way through.
Okay.
And yes, I get the story. And yeah, it's going on.
Okay. So I was interested to your take on it. That's all.
Based on what I've gotten so far, I get the experience. And yeah, it's good.
Okay. That's all.
Anybody else have a question? Anybody at all? Well, thank you,
We'll
everyone.
just sit here and drink.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Cecil.
I said, we'll just sit here and drink. Water, but we're drinking.
I'll join you. It's some of it's water. Anybody have a question at all? Comments? Thoughts? Kodiak, I'm glad to see you made it back. This is the Los Angeles Annex. Is that correct? Do we have any updates there that we can share tonight?
Oops, I lost him entirely. There he is.
Oh, hang on. You need to unmute, sir. I am gonna.
There we go. Well, I've been acquiring some material. So we've got a box of stuff we've been picking up. A local bookstore went out of business. It was going out of business, and they're selling a bunch of stuff. So we grabbed a bunch.
Fantastic.
We're slowly getting started.
So the addiction is setting in.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
And learning his community, which is very important because every annex is a servant.
Yeah.
And getting the community buy-in is also, okay, I'm doing is also important. Will your community help you? The old heavy metals.
We got a box
And
full.
what are you bringing to the community? That's all part of getting hands-on. Matthew Kodiak and Jowie Drain are both at the same place in their journey to become Carter Johnsons. They're learning not just about their tribe's history, but they're also beginning to talk to their tribe
Yeah.
about, would you support this? What do you need? What do you want? If this comes to pass, how can we help?
Okay.
That's what it's about. Keep going, sir.
Pretty good collection started back there.
Yeah.
Tease out a little bit of the stuff that's in those very things out there.
You know, you might upset both the Jowie and Master Kodiak since they're probably going to end up a little in both places. See, what happened was there are some things Florida didn't need, and there are a whole lot of things Florida did need. So, in order to take things home, these things have to be emptied out of suitcases. And it's the beginning of a fairly good start library. So since the two babies coming up, and by the way, Seattle, you're the youngest of your siblings, but still older than you, is waiting to talk to both you and Jowie, because they are taking the responsibility of being the older sibling very seriously.
Oh, okay.
That may mean you might have to take a paddling. I'm not sure.
I wasn't aware there was any hazing involved with starting an annex. I may
Yeah, I
need
didn't
to
know that
rethink
either. On second thought,
Not just for me.
Good to see you, Master Kodiak.
good to see you too.
Oh, goodness, that's funny. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording. And
Oh shit, that was recorded.
Yes.
yes, it was. I got you. Thank you, everyone, for attending.